Hello, Bournemouth fans and Cherries Red Army YouTube channel. We're here for another match preview. AFC Bournemouth on Wednesday take on Cardiff City at home, 7:45 p.m. And I have two guests to join me to help me on this latest match. I have AFC Bournemouth fan Keith Thomas. How are you?
Not too bad, Kirk. Nice to be on here. Nice to be on a great channel, and it's another Bournemouth voice, so I can't be more pleased.
Excellent. And at this stage, I normally have an opposition fan that comes on later in the show. Unfortunately, I've not been able to find a Cardiff City fan, so I've gone one better. And I've brought a neutral fan who knows his stuff about the Championship. A big welcome to Benjamin Bloom. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. I'm an imposter. I know nothing about anything.
And before we get going, actually, Ben, let us know a bit about what you do on YouTube. You've got 14,000 subscribers and for the Championship.
Yeah, so Benjamin Bloom Football Channel, we do Championship in the main, previews, reviews, watch-alongs, all of that good stuff. And if our roadmap today is anything to go by, I might be in a stadium by the end of the season, maybe by the playoff final. But no, really pleased to have picked up some Bournemouth supporters because obviously you've been in the Premier League for a while, so I've not covered Bournemouth at all. So it's been good fun. And fear not, if you do get promoted, if you do stay in the top six and win the playoffs, or maybe even go one better, I have a show called Dearly Departed where I look at the teams that have gone up. So we've got a show that covers Villa, Sheffield United, Leeds, Fulham and West Brom. Three of those we may be getting back next season, but hey.
Excellent stuff. Ben's details are in the description. I'm a subscriber and Keith is as well. Get yourself on that. It's enjoyable. Right, let's start this match preview as we always do. And Keith, let's look back to our previous match, which was on Saturday versus QPR. Didn't take our chances, gave some chances to the opposition, got punished, and a team that was informed, the home team QPR, took all 3 points.
They certainly did. They were very clinical when they had their chances. I thought we pressed really well in the first 20 minutes. We were moving the ball quickly, looked like we had purpose. But then, we had opportunities. Shane Long should have put it away. Smithy, it was quick on to him, but again, that was another gilt-edged chance. Phil Billing playing this roaming Mazzala 10 role that he seems to be enjoying at the moment. He could have had a chance as well. So we had, in the first half, some really golden opportunities to set our stall out. But then the second half, we all know QPR strong in the second half. They come on good. And they put their chances away. And poor old Mr. Mepham made a lapse in concentration, trying to play the ball to Lerma, who someone was quickly onto him. And then it goes in the back of the net. And then as we were pushing forward, trying to look for the second goal, they came on to us. Stan lost his marker. The defence were all over the place. And again, we were punished. So there are, reflecting on it, there are a few positives, but they were certainly more clinical than us.
Keith highlighted it there, Ben, that Bournemouth we struggled to score goals in the first 20 minutes. We haven't done that since December the 12th. And when you looked at QPR, they come good in the last 20 minutes, scoring their last 6 out of their last 8 goals. Now, in the stats that you checked up on QPR, did that scoreline surprise you, or was it sort of what was coming when it was still 0-0 at half-time?
I mean, QPR are kind of playing above themselves at the moment, aren't they? 6 wins in 7 since Austin came back. And it's weird because, I mean, it's typical Championship. You look at the 2-11s and Bournemouth should beat QPR. And even with it being an away game, with COVID being what it is, maybe those advantages are knocked out. But then you look at the circumstances and a managerial appointment was presumably sorted by then and was going to be announced the following morning, and maybe it was a more desirable time for QPR to play Bournemouth than it was for Bournemouth to play QPR. Obviously not much in it, like you said. You alluded to Keith alluded to the 1v1 that Shane Long, we've seen him score many times over his career, and then it's a mistake. And let's be honest, I'm perfectly neutral. Kane kicks the ball into the ground for the winning goal, and it bounces over Begovic. So on a different day, you may have got something 1 or 3 points from that, but at the moment, Bournemouth lose that game and QPR win that game. That's just the way things are when the two of you met, I think.
And on Sunday, Keith, I was hoping to enjoy a nice settled birthday and not talk any football. And AFC Bournemouth released a statement saying that they've gone for Woodgate. Now, it was not going to be an internal appointment. It was going to be due diligence and all that they didn't do the first time under Jason Tindall. We apparently had lots of worldwide CVs on the table, but instead we give a 6-month for 15-game contract to Jonathan Woodgate. Your thoughts on that?
I don't know really what's going on. I suppose there's an external candidate in as much as he's just come into the club. I don't think he had any intentions of being the manager, but Jason being sacked and then all the whirlwind that's going around it, and it has literally been every other day another name comes in and another name's associated with the club. He hasn't done a bad job. He has got us a little bit more motivated, a little bit more organised than what we were under Jason. The players have come out last week to say that they seem to enjoy working with him. Is he a long-term solution? I couldn't tell you. We have to bear in mind Eddie lost his first 2 games in charge with us, and he didn't do too badly in the end. So I like the guy. I think he's very articulate. I think he's very thoughtful. But obviously the Borough, and I was watching Ben's podcast on his thoughts on this. I think the Borough situation was really tricky anyway for him. So this is like a blank sheet for him. And he's got a squad there that he can work with. It's whether if the team has got that team mentality, that fighting spirit for each other, and that's where my doubts have been all throughout the season. Are they playing for themselves and the transfer market, or are they playing for the gaffer? And we'll see. Certainly the next 2 games are going to be, I think, season changing for us. It will depend on the outcome of this.
Let's touch on Borough then, Ben. Jonathan Woodgate arguably doesn't have a better CV or a better run rate than Jason Tindall. Jonathan Woodgate, I think he had 9 wins at Middlesbrough. They were the least amount of goal scorers in that league, and they didn't even get relegated. Is it any better than Jason Tindall?
It's the crystal ball inducing $64,000 question that we'll literally never know the answer to, will we? I put a poll out yesterday on Twitter saying, would Borough finish inside the top 6 now Woodgate's been hired, or outside? 78% now said outside. Now, it would have been very interesting to do that poll if it had just been Jason Tindall going all the way through. I don't want to repeat myself because, as Keith said, I did a video on this. It's the easiest thing in the world to sit here and throw mud at this appointment. I am an Ipswich Town fan. In 1969, Ipswich Town took a gamble on Bobby Robson, who was unknown, unproven, hadn't done anything. Exactly where we are with Jonathan Woodgate. And 13 years later, he's the England manager, and Ipswich finish in the top 4 every year, win the UEFA Cup, win the FA Cup. Every manager is untried at some point. So, and again, not wanting to repeat what I've said on my other video, I don't think it's a fair comparison, Borough to Bournemouth, just on the basis. The situations are very, very different. The world is very different. The squads are very different. What he wants to do and what he's followed are very, very different things. You guys would have a better read on whether that's going to be good for Bournemouth. Just as Keith I was trying to think of a good analogy. The only issue we've got now with Bournemouth is they want to get promoted. They want that 100 million quid Premier League TV money. Everyone wants to get straight back up as soon as they can. And it kind of feels a bit like you've got a bottle of whiskey, okay, and you want to make some nice whiskey and Coke, and the Bournemouth bottle of whiskey, they've used most of the whiskey up now, and pouring the dregs into the glass, trying to make one more whiskey and Coke, when you would think if Woodgate either finishes in the playoffs and loses or finishes outside the playoffs, that they're going to buy a new bottle of whiskey next year. They're going to, maybe David Brooks is gone, Lloyd Kelly, Lewis Cook, whoever. They're going to cash in, new manager, rebuild, new bottle of whiskey. At the moment, they're trying to can we get the dregs out of the old one? And yes, Fulham kind of did that last year, but they did that with your Mitrovic, your guaranteed championship 30-goal guy, near enough of 25 goals, who can bail you out of a lot of... Fulham weren't convincing, and that just feels where we are with Bournemouth at the moment. It feels a little bit Fulhamish from last year, that they could get up, they might not, and people say I sit on the fence about it, but I'll tell you at the end of the season whether he's done a good job, because it's completely binary. If you go up, he's done a good job. If you don't, he'll get fired. It's that straightforward, I think.
And as AFC Bournemouth fans, we will definitely get behind him like we did Jason Tindall. Performances don't look any different than they have previously done under Jason Tindall. But now the clarity's there and the uncertainty's gone. We can focus on the training ground and hopefully hit the ground running on Wednesday. And let's focus on Wednesday. Let's get our eyes on Cardiff. And Keith, Cardiff played again on Saturday as well, and they won convincingly 4-0. And I tell you what, they're a team in form. Not only that, Preston missed 2 penalties, so they look like they've got luck. I tell you what, I'd take both of them right now.
Absolutely. What Mick McCarthy brings to your squad, he gets them organised. They're not afraid to go direct or long ball and go behind the defences, and I think you've got a really powerful striker in Moore up top, who's obviously their target man. I think Harry Wilson enjoys playing off him. Rails enjoys playing off him. But he's also playing with a back three, which is quite interesting. I wouldn't expect that from Mick McCarthy, but he seems to have found a formula with Aidan Flint and Nilsson. This combination at the back with this 3-4-2-1, and he seems to be getting a lot of joy out of it. But he's a pragmatic manager. He's got an excellent AM in Terry Connor, and his experience at the moment is really starting to shine, and they seem to love and relish being this physical side. They're not afraid to say, yes, we're a direct team, but we're playing to our characteristics and strengths. And you've got wily characters like Morrison in there as well. So, yeah, you've got to be but impressed with what Mick McCarthy's done since he's come in. I mean, he hasn't lost. He's got 2 draws, 5 wins. So the record speaks for himself. So we've got a really tough game on Wednesday. So, yeah.
So Cardiff are 7th now, Ben, in the league, topping the form guide. And I can see your Ipswich scarf behind you. And I've been looking forward to asking you this question today about Mick McCarthy. Before he came in, Cardiff had lost 5 on the bounce. They are now unbeaten in 7 and won the last 5. What is he potentially doing from your experience of watching him obviously manage at Ipswich?
Oh, he'd just simplify everything. So whatever Neil Harris was doing or not doing. And I think Neil Harris, when he was at his best, when he was Millwall manager, basically 4-4-2, up and at 'em, high intensity, Gregory and Morrison. And, I covered a lot of that, and they were scary, especially in that home stadium. It'd give anybody a game there. Obviously, it got a bit terse and a bit rubbish at Cardiff, didn't it? So we knew that McCarthy was just going to go in, make everyone. He's a very charismatic bloke. He's loved by players. You won't find players or media. There's obviously something about him. He's obviously a people person, and it was always just going to be simplify. And let's be frank, this is a year 2 parachute team that should not have been losing 5 games on the trot and should not have been 15th. So although Mick looks like a bit of a genius at the moment, this is half regression to the mean and half Mick coming in and organising it. Kiefer's outlined the system, and obviously he likes his big, powerful defenders. And well, he was one, wasn't he? So he was always going to enjoy Flint and Morrison. Two good wing backs as well. Bennett, good delivery from the left, and then G's just come in. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys about Harry Wilson, particularly at championship level, is probably should be playing a level above championship, and it's going to be a hard game. What it reminds me of is, I think it's a chapter from Phil Tufnell's biography where he's like 21 and he's batting in Australia, and he's so terrified, and this wily Australian bowler, batsman, is literally halfway down the wicket, and Mick McCarthy will be licking his lips. Mick McCarthy's the wily Australian batsman, and Jonathan Woodgate is the inexperienced bowler. And I think I've got my numbers right. A win would put Cardiff above Bournemouth. The goal difference needs to swing by 2, but obviously one goal for Cardiff is 1 goal against, so it swings by 2 with every goal. And that's Mick likes to simplify things, and the simple message is going to be, I don't want to dig out any of your players. Look at Mepham, look at Kelly. I don't know if Steve Cook, I don't know what is he's not going to be about. No. So he'll just be like Kiefer Moore, go and beat up on those centre halves, get direct, test them. Don't let Danjuma, Brooks, whoever near the goal, and we can win the game. I think would be his lookout on this one, Kirk.
I mean, I didn't really want to dig out Chris Mepham after the weekend, but this fixture comes with, when we look at the first fixture between the teams, was 1-1, and we were winning the game 1-0, but it was a mistake from Mepham that got Cardiff back in the game. Do you recollect that game, Keith?
Certainly do. I certainly do. I quite like Mepham because he is a ball-playing defender, and I think he would be, if he was more confident, he will bring the ball out. I think actually being in a 3 suits his game, but rather being in a 2. But his confidence has really gone, and in fact, it's difficult to argue why would he be in the squad this time. So maybe a little time on the sidelines, gather his thoughts, work, maybe put your arm around him, work with him, get his confidence back, and say, look, there are attributes that are fine. We have to cast our minds back to the last season and the Chelsea game, and it was a magnificent performance he put on there. So we know he can do it. And but yeah, that mistake will haunt him for a little while yet, and he will be fragile at the moment. So and then he's got more coming on top of him. That's something that McCarthy will be targeting is the fragility, mental fragility in some of our back 4, back 3, or whatever we're going to play.
And we will look at the actual goal threat that Cardiff will hold in just a moment to mop up Cardiff and what threat they hold. But Ben, I was looking at the Cardiff team, and there's no lack of championship sort of experience in there. You've got the likes of Bennett, who's played at Bournemouth. You've got Smithies, Morrison, Flint, Bacuna, Hoylett. I mean, that is a championship-built squad there. I mean, I'm now surprised they're not in the playoffs.
Well, it's a year 2 parachute team, and not many teams in the league can afford Harry Wilson on loan. You haven't mentioned Shea Ojo, who's on loan from Liverpool, who's a good player as well. He seems to have got, and forgive me, I always forget which Murphy's which. So either Josh or Jacob Murphy, whichever one plays up front.
I think it's Josh.
Kirk. Josh. I can't. They're identical twins. I've never been able to tell the difference, to be honest, even when I've been live at games with them.
I'm confident it's Josh anyway.
Yeah, there you go. He's got them all playing. As I said, they shouldn't have been down in 15th, but there are players in that squad as well that were promoted under Warnock 17, 18, just a couple of seasons ago, weren't they? Your likes of Morrison and Hoylett, and I suppose Bennett would have been left over from there as well. And then Pack is, he's played hundreds of games for Bristol City, and Volks is getting that way now with Rotherham as well. So it's almost like a perfect fit, Mick McCarthy and those players. I can't imagine him talking to Dan Juma or Lerma and working. Do you know what I mean? He's much more Sean Morrison and Marlon Pack, isn't he? But it'll be very straightforward, very direct, and even though your players are arguably a high caliber, it's the Championship, and you got to stop those diagonal balls. You got to stop those quick turnovers, and you got to play through that mid-low block as well. So it's a tricky game.
Okay, and let's finally talk about their attacking options that they have. Kiefer Moore, 14 goals this season, really knocking them away at the moment. And Harry Wilson, Marmite, very much Marmite with the AFC Bournemouth fans. He's got 8 assists and 4 goals. I know that from the AFC Bournemouth side of it, they always felt like, I always looked at Harry Wilson as, if we had like an NFL or an NHL sort of sub format in the football game where you could bring him on to take a set piece, but then put him back on the bench, he would be like the person you'd always want in your squad for that. But when it came to the dog work or holding the ball, he always struggled from a sort of lightweight point of view, wasn't he, in the Premier League? Harry Wilson, I think Championship's made for him.
He's loving it, isn't he? He's really enjoying it. Really enjoy being inside. Loves the second ball off Moore. He scored a cracking goal against Luton. Beautiful goal. But what I think Cardiff have worked out, whereas we tried to play him sort of like a Brooks role as an inside forward, they're playing him more like a 10. And I think that he loves that freedom. He seems to be given that freedom in that squad to find little bits of space, link up play. He likes to shoot from outside the box, put that get that game going, and picking up the second balls, paying off the big target man. And it really is suited him. He looks confident. I would imagine that Mick McCarthy's and Terry Connor put their arm around him, made him feel big. I don't know if if they play Rails more regularly, and then Wilson bring him on as a sub, or just interchange them. But as I say, that Luton performance, he looked absolutely wonderful. That shot from the outside box, just curling in, it's delicious, and that's all from a second ball that Moore created for them. So yeah, he's going to be a threat, and that's going to be something else we've got to deal with, because if you allow him space and he's just outside that box, he's going to take it on. And he did it. He was doing that in the last game when we played them last. So yeah, it's a dangerous thing to watch out for.
Interesting stuff. It's making me nervous again as we get closer to kickoff. Right, it's our final part of the show. It's time for us to try and predict what Woodgate will do. Let's do this. Okay, so Woodgate seemed to have a structure in place when he came in as caretaker manager, and he went with 4-2-3-1. Actually, what all the fans were calling out for JT to do, that he never did, Keith, especially. And he played that 4-2-3-1 until Saturday. Weirdly enough, after 3 consecutive clean sheets, he went to a back three that we've struggled with all season. I see him coming back with a 4-2-3-1 again, Keith. Just briefly, do you see that happening?
Yes, I do. I think we might actually play, though, with a single pivot rather than the double pivot. And I think I would certainly, but obviously Begovic in goal. I think Smith has in a little bit of renaissance underneath us, because he seems to be more enthusiastic. He's getting up and down on that right-hand side. So I think he's CCV. I would like to have Kelly in there. I like that right-footed, left-footed, natural play, and then Rico on the left.
And we'll stop at the defence there for the moment, Keith. Yeah. So we've got the back four there that I totally agree with. Now, just while you're obviously involved with this as well, Ben, because you probably would have seen Carter Vickers at Luton.
We had him at Ipswich. as well.
And
McCarthy
so-
had him.
Oh,
And I
right.
tell you, he's really stepped up. So Steve Cook got an injury, our leader, and he's been an absolute machine for us this season when we went on a 5 clean sheet run, etc. But Carter Vickers has stepped up with the loss of Steve Cook. I mean, yeah, let's have your thoughts on Carter Vickers, Ben.
Yeah, he just needs to find a home, doesn't he? He's one of these players who's on a whacking great contract, sort of Luke Garbett syndrome, whacking great Premier League long contract, and just loan after loan after loan, and needs to just kind of find his level. I wanted to just throw in a caveat, and I was just going to try and explain away you going to 3 at the back. If Woodgate is one of these managers who likes to match up, he would have known that these next 2 games, QPR and Cardiff, were probably going to be against other teams that play 3 at the back. So whether he was looking at it, assuming he already knew he got the job, whether he was looking at it as a two game little, tactical thing that he was going to go 3 at the back, that might be the explanation if you guys were kind of pondering about that, because Warburton and McCarthy are both clearly set at the moment, set on 3 at the back.
When lineups were released, we were absolutely thrown by it. It threw every single fan off, I think. So let's move into the centre then and go to 2 holding midfielders, which you've now got 2 to pick from 3. And Pearson missed out again, Keith, and Lerman looks more like himself after slotting back into his natural role. And Lewis Cook has obviously got that creativity. But who'd you pick out of the 2?
So
3?
this is where I might throw a little bit of a curveball. I would actually sacrifice Cook for Pearson and play a single pivot, allow him to play horizontally, so as a shield particularly for the back 2, if he needs to drop in and play when our fullbacks are going forward, and then go Lerma and Billing to go into more that Billing playing this Mazzala role is really interesting. He likes to get advanced, and allowing Lerman to also win the ball high up the pitch, counter pressing them would be something I think he might look at, rather than Lewis Cook. Sometimes his lack of discipline when he goes forward can leave space at the back, and I'm sure Woodgate be well aware that Wilson will be in there, and he might want Pearson to really, as I say, shield the back 2 and really take him out the game, so to speak, so they haven't got his creativity, so that it is forcing them to go long. And we've seen CCV, he's very good in the air and he's very disciplined in the air. He might want to play with that single pivot and try and get a counter press going forward.
And Ben, as a neutral, when you look at that lineup now, how does Jack Wilshere not get in that team?
Pass. Yeah, exactly. Pass. It's tricky, especially with someone like Wilshere, where you just never know what percentage of his capability in terms of fitness is he at any particular time, and you just assume that that he's being managed through, and he'll be integrated into, hopefully, because we're all football fans, we're all England fans, and we can all remember 2011 Jack Wilshere, and I suspect 2011 Jack Wilshere blindfolded could play in the Championship, couldn't he? So I'm sure that wouldn't be too tricky. Going back to what Keith was saying about midfield kind of defensive stuff. Remember that the threat against Cardiff, it's a quick, not very subtle threat, isn't it? It's quick transition. They're going to try and catch you up the pitch and either play direct to a dribbler or into the big guy. So it's just, can you defend 1v1 against Moore if you're a centre back, or Wilson on the dribble? So maybe your midfield is more about physicality and sort of ability to mark. But you were talking about Wilson a minute ago, and in the Premier League wouldn't do his running. He'll have 7 players sat behind him to give him some assurance in this system, won't he? So also, and I'm sure you're coming on to these players now, who can play through the lines, who can dribble, who can play the killer pass, which you're about to tell me.
Well, and with David Brooks picking up an injury that no one saw coming either, because apparently everyone was fit apart from the players that we already knew was out. So I assume David Brooks has picked up an ankle injury. So do we see Stanislas and Danjuma fit in those two positions on Wednesday, Keith?
I think we've got to. What I think that will have to be where we go. What I would say is, rather than pinging them, trying to play them as inside forwards, is actually allow them to be almost like roaming tens, a la Gerrard. So they can come, give them license, because you've got the physicality in the middle of the park to counter press and win the ball, and almost play them in to support who I'm going to assume would be my choice, would be Surridge up top, and try and support him and play round him and use our guile and trickery to unbalance their defence, because they're going to play with the three as well. So let's match them up rather than keeping them out in the wings. We are sacrificing wing play, but I think if you say to those guys, just play your natural game, try and swap over, try and interchange, try and destabilise them, I think we could get some joy. But playing closer to Surridge is so key, because he's at the moment he's looking isolated, and I don't see us being effective trying to come in all the time. Just say, play your natural game, come deep, go wide, find those pockets and cause them problems, and allow our physicality in the middle of the park to dominate the game.
And we're going to come on to a player now, because Dom Solanke is still injured. And I don't know how much you're following this situation, Ben, but we brought Shane Long in because Josh King went out the door. And obviously Shane Long's come here to play football because he's been frozen out or whatever's going on at Southampton. But Sam Surridge, every time he's played for us, come off the bench, he's made an impact. He got assists against Barnsley. He made an impact and got an assist against Wickham. He scored goals. But for some reason, all season, under two managers, he never gets rewarded afterwards. Now, all the fans want to see him start on Wednesday. Have you been following that situation at all with Sam Surridge?
Yeah, and was watching when he was at Swansea as well. I've kind of upgraded him for Rhian Brewster halfway through the season, though, didn't I? I always liked him, and I think he's really good in the air as well, isn't he? And as soon as Keith said that, I'm like, right, are you going to get in behind Cardiff with Shane Long? No. Put Surridge in. You're probably going to be able to get lots of possession high up with the fullbacks, because you would expect sort of Cardiff would sit in and try and make it tricky in that manner. So yeah, a big fan of Surridge, and I mean, you'd know better than me about why Solanke or King or Long, whoever is ahead of him. But yeah, I would agree, and also you've got to defend set pieces in this game, and Billing's a big bloke. Surridge is good in the air. Trade them for Lewis Cook and Dom Solanke, and Sean Morrison's now licking his lips, and Aidan Flint is as well. So,
some really good points there that I didn't even think about from a defensive point of view. But you need to defend as a team, and a lot of managers bring all the players back now for set pieces. So that's the team that we're predicting will start. A good team on paper, like it always looks like. Let us know your comments if you agree, or tell us who you would pick or what you would change. Let us know in the comments. Fantastic stuff. Right, we're just going to sort of close it off then. I mean, I'm going to bring up the table for us to look at. Like you mentioned earlier, Ben, it's one win for Cardiff with a couple of goals, and they're pushed us out. We're out the playoffs.
Yeah, it's only one goal, isn't it? Because that goal difference will swing to plus 14 each, and they'll be on. They're a goal ahead of you. So yeah, they'll be licking their lips, and then it's the question is, can you're throwing in a Jonathan Woodgate into Neil Warnock, Michael O'Neill, and Mick McCarthy, and I know Jonathan Woodgate was a great player, played for Real Madrid. Very experienced guy, played under good managers. But those three I've just mentioned, particularly Warnock and McCarthy, they know how to get promoted out of this division, and have both done so with more than one team as well.
Before we get our score predictions then, Keith, I don't think Cardiff have conceded a goal in the first half in the last 5 games, and we're struggling to score goals in the first half and haven't scored in the first 20 minutes since December the 12th. We need to score early. I've said that for quite a while now.
We certainly need to set out our stall quite quickly and match their intensity. And show that we're here for a fight. Hopefully, with the managerial position settled and being brave and playing for each other, we can actually do that. But it's going to be an attritional fight tomorrow. It's going to be a pub fight, and it's not going to be a pretty purist game that we all like. It's going to be that sort of game where I think a goal either way is going to decide it. I don't think it's going to be somebody getting smashed. I think it's going to be a tight one. But yeah, we really do need to set out stall. And I think we've got a guy with Sammy Surridge who likes pressing and likes to get at their back three. So hopefully we can do that and get going and match them physically.
I'll take a draw leading into the weekend against Watford. Ben, are you sort of overseeing this match on Wednesday, and what do you expect the score to be?
I don't know, actually. I might be at Brentford. Fingers crossed. You don't tend to find out until the day before, so possibly not. But if I am not at Brentford, I'll be watching this with interest. There's a couple of narratives. Obviously, one you guys are not going to like because it's Cardiff winning 1-0 from a set play in the 73rd minute or what have you. One thing I'll say about Mick is that however bad Ipswich were, they never got hammered like Keith was just alluding to. They'd stay in the game. They'd make it very hard. And one of Mick's great quotes was, "Every point is a prisoner." Now, that strikes you as someone who's happy with a draw, and big picture with his 17 points in 7 games, a draw would be fine. But just the context here, knowing it's a direct rival and a win literally switches you places. I don't know. Will he be happy with a draw? Will he be going all out for the win? So the classic narrative says Woodgate can't outmanage McCarthy, but player for player, year 1 parachute team beats year 2 parachute team, doesn't it? So it'd be very, very interesting. And I agree with Keith. There won't be more than, or it's unlikely, I would have thought, without a red card, that there'd be more than 1 goal in it. But stiff test for Mr. Woodgate against Mick and TC. Yeah.
Keith, how's it going to play out? What are you expecting on Wednesday?
It's my heart and my head. My head says that I think we probably will lose 1-0, but it's the red and black, and anything is possible. I fancy a Philip Billing goal in the second half. So I'm gonna go 1-0 for us, but it could go easily the other way, and I can see Moore really enjoying himself tomorrow. I've got that fear. He's tails up, and he's a bully of a player, and to say the least. And they're gonna just, knowing how our fullbacks are playing at the moment, they're gonna have a hard job anyway, and they're just gonna be chucking everything into that box to get him on.
Keith, they scored 4 goals with 36% possession on Saturday. They don't need the ball to do damage for big swathes of the game.
Yeah.
And we dominate a lot of teams, and by normally having more than 60% possession, and it doesn't always achieve, like you say, Ben. So let us know your scores in the comments as well. Really interesting stuff. It's going to be a tough game. Ben, it's been fantastic to have you on, to have your insight, a bit of an extended match preview, but we could not have it without having you on. Follow Ben, all the details in the description. Really appreciate this. Any closing comments, Ben?
No, you got it. Thank you for the plugs. Yeah, Benjamin Bloom Football Channel at Benjamin Bloom. Great to chat with Bournemouth fans. Like I said, it's only been this season I've been covering you, so really good. And that clock is ticking. That parachute payment clock is ticking, isn't it? So I wish you the absolute best of luck. And I have to say, the first 15 minutes of Brentford versus Bournemouth is probably the best I've seen anybody play this season. So there's something there at Bournemouth with those players. If he can get a tune out of Brooks and get everything working together. So best of luck to you. And please come over to the channel. Just hit subscribe and come and say hello on the streams.
I'll be there. Keith, any closing comments?
Well, with punditry royalty today, so thank you very much, both of you guys. Ben's channel is amazing, just as an overview of the championship, some really thoughtful insights, so definitely worth checking him out. And of course, Kirk, a really good analysis, as he always does when it's the free-for-all. So delighted to be with both of you, and thank you very much again.
Fantastic. Really enjoyed this. Let's have a good game on Wednesday. Let's hope that we get at least a point. Until the next video, we'll see you soon. Up the Cherries.